Yo. We off live. Let's share this. Yo. All right, yeah, we in here. Go ahead and start sharing and get people to like and share. Get as many people in here as possible so we can do the AMA. Go ahead and share this on Facebook. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really excited about all this. All right, cool. So we're just gonna let people filter in. But yeah, I got a call back from the recruiter this morning. Well, I got an email this morning, and they said that they had some feedback and they wanted to talk to me. And off the bat, I felt really good about that because in the past, anytime I haven't made it, no matter whether it was Facebook or Google or whoever, I would just get an email flat out saying we decided not to move forward. So I automatically felt good when they said they wanted to call me. So, I hit them up. Said you can call me anytime. They end up calling me about an hour later, and we're like, yeah, we really they enjoyed you and they want you to go on to the next round. Now the thing is, they're asking me to do a second technical round. So it was originally going to be 2 rounds, but now it's three. And I'm not too caught up on that. So like, I had thought that the interview was an hour and it was 45 minutes. So they said they wanted to get some more signals on me. But more important, I guess, really the important thing was I passed like the actual technical round. So like I did the algorithm. It did what it's supposed to do, and honestly, that's the hardest part. So they want me to do another round um, with a different engineer from a different team, and then pending I get that, then I'm gonna have to do the virtual on site. So which is oxymoron, but so typically when it's not pandemic, they will fly you out for an on-site interview at that point. But since we're going through the pandemic, we have to do virtual. So that's going to be I think it's 4 hours. I know it was 4 hours for Facebook, but basically, it's just a big long all day interview. And if that goes well, then I'll get an offer. So this is for a senior engineering position. It will be I'm gonna be based in Austin, but like they're letting everybody work remote. So I'll probably stay in Louisville for a little bit until after pandemic. But I might go ahead and move to Austin. Thank you, Shakeem. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. I'm really excited. Like Google has always been my dream like corporation. So I was a I was a senior engineer at Apple when I was 21, and that was like 8 years ago. And being at Apple really set me up with my career, as far as getting new clients and stuff like that. It's always cool being like, I'm an ex Apple engineer, but Google's really the FANG company that I wanted to work for. So the Facebook interviews and I've interviewed with Amazon before. Like those are cool, but being able to get past this round with Google, definitely monumental. Like when I was learning how to code when I was a kid, at first it was Microsoft. That was like the big company that I wanted to work for, and then I kind of when I switched to Linux, like I kind of dropped that whole Microsoft. Yes, Soul Alchemy. If I pass this next round,
these next couple rounds, I will be at Google. I'm still going to be running my company because I do have employees here in the city. So good thing is the way that the company has been growing. The way the company has been growing, I have been able to um, it's able to basically run without me there. So I've pretty much been doing more of the playing more of the CEO role anyway, putting my engineers on contracts and stuff of that nature. So um, yeah, I'm in a blessed position where I'll be able to have my company being managed and ran here in Louisville while I'm at Google. And I'll be at Google for a minimum of 3 years because that's how long it's going to take for the stock options to vest if I get the job. Assuming I get the job, I'm going to speak positive, affirmatively that I'm going to get the job. I feel really confident about it. I feel really confident about it. And yeah. So I guess before I'm gonna talk about the actual interview and talk about the question. I can't give a direct one to one on what the question is. So I'm gonna change some stuff around, but the general the class of the problem I can speak about. So, but before I get into that, if anybody has any questions so far, or if you have any questions at all during this time, feel free to ask. Clip and Go Hairbands is a phenomenal opportunity. Thank you. It very much very much is like I've been I'm still shook. I've been on this high all day from that news. Um, this weekend was like a really long weekend. Like I did the interview last Thursday, so I already knew I was gonna have to wait till Monday to get feedback, and it was just like felt like a kid waiting for Christmas, Christmas Eve, when can't go to sleep. So, but yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything about the interview process, feel free to ask. So, the number one thing as far as the technical part, and I'm going to, assuming I make it to the behavioral interview and assuming I get the interview, I will be doing or get the job. I will be doing follow up videos to talk about the behavioral part, but I can talk about the technical part now. So, the number one thing to understand when you're interviewing, specifically with Google, but pretty much all of the FANG companies are like this. The time slot that you're given and the problem that you're given, more times than not, they're designed in a way that, like, if you don't finish the algorithm in that allotted time, that's okay because they're more interested in your thought process and your algorithmic thinking and your ability to communicate your thought process. So if you were to go in and you knocked out the algorithm, but you didn't communicate, then that's going to be worth less than somebody who didn't complete the algorithm all the way, but they were very clear in their thought process. And Clip and Go, you asked what will the job be? This is a senior engineer. As far as team, I don't know what team I'd be placed on yet. I just know I would be in Austin. So I could be for Google Cloud, which I wouldn't mind being on the Google Cloud platform. I really want to do some AI and machine learning stuff. Um, so whatever team will really allow me to do more of the AI ML, I'll be fine with. But back to the interview. So yeah, communication is definitely the number one thing that they are looking for. You know, how well are you able to communicate that your solution and the answer to your problem? So, understanding what you're going to do and being able to explain it is just as important as implementation. And the reason why that is the case is because you're going to be working with a team. It's not going to just be you uh, doing engineering. You're going to be working on a team. So if you're not able to communicate with your team, your thought process, like that affects efficiency on the organism as a whole, which is the team. So you can always become better as an engineer by studying and practice, right? You can always become just a better coder that way. But it's much harder, like, to, work on your communication skills. typically you're either a good communicator or you're not. And if you're not a good communicator, then that's the stuff you really need to focus on if when preparing for these interviews. Because at the end of the day, in real life and in production, like if you're stuck on a problem, um, there's an infinite amount of resources to like look up. You know, most of us use Stack Overflow. Like it doesn't matter if you're an engineer at Netflix or you're an engineer in your mom's basement. Like we all use Stack Overflow. So don't put so much weight on trying to know every possible data structure and algorithm that there's out there. I mean, because that's impossible, first off. And a lot of the data structures that you're going to be working with in these interviews, they're hybrid structures. You know, it may be a tree, for example, but it's not a standard tree. It's not a standard binary tree. Like they're gonna add something unique in there because they want to test you on the spot. You know, how well are you able to recognize uh, the characteristics of said data structures that are coming up. So as far as the problem that was given to me, like I said, I'm going to change some stuff around, but let's assume that you have a grid of points. Okay, so x y coordinate, and your origin point is 1 comma 1. All right, so that's where you're always going to start at. Now you need to get to some point that's on this grid, and it's a point m comma n. Okay, so you don't, it doesn't, where m and n are integers that are greater than or equal to 1. So you're only allowed two types of transformations. You can either do x plus 1 comma y, or x comma y plus x plus 1. All right, so those are the only two moves you can make. Now you have to find the shortest path to get to m and n. So essentially, you're only allowed to walk up and you're only allowed to walk right by certain translations. So when I was given this problem, the first thing I was thinking initially was like, some with hash maps, so you can have like the number of moves. But then I realized we don't really need that. I can just put it in a list because we can just grab the length of the list. So the first thing that I did was I calculated the delta m and the delta n. So the deltas, I can do that in MATLAB. Yeah, you can do. Yeah, I did it in Python, but I mean, yeah, you can do it in any language. But so basically, I calculate the deltas, right? So delta m is the x minus m, and then delta n is y minus n, right? So you start at your origin point 1 comma 1. So let's say your end point m is equal to 5 and n is equal to 3. So you're trying to go to point. So you go from 1 comma 1 to 5 comma 3. All right. So the first thing I do is I calculate the delta. So delta m would be 5 minus 1, which is 4. And then delta n would be 3 minus 1, which is 2. So you take the lowest delta, and that's the translation that you're going to do. So in this case, the lowest delta is delta n, because delta n is equal to 2. So then, because I'm doing a translation on the y, that means it's the y plus x plus 1, or whatever I said. So I'll do walk up, and then I'll do that translation. So then I'll be at 1 comma 1, was it 1 comma 3, I think, or whatever. So let's do the deltas. Delta m is still 4, but delta n is 0 now. And if it's equal to 0, that means you're at the point, the destination point on that coordinate axis where you need to be. So delta n is equal to 0. So now I'm only going to do translations on x, which is x plus 1. So I'll go from 1 comma 3 to 2 comma 3. Then I, repeat the cycle. Delta n is now, 5 minus 2. So now it's 3, and delta n is still 0. So I'm going to do a x plus 1. Now I'm at 3 comma 3. The delta is 2, and the other delta is 0. So do I do +1? So now I'm at 4 comma 3, and then do it again 5 comma 3. Now once you get both the deltas equal to 0, you know that you're at the destination where you want to be. And the reason why I do the shortest delta instead of the longest is because that's going to guarantee that you take the shortest path to get to your destination. If you did it in reverse, it's actually going to give you the longest path to give you to the destination. So the hardest part wasn't writing it, because honestly, like, the solution was pretty much instant in my mind when I understood the prompt. It was explaining it, and not even explaining it so much, but having confidence in your solution. Like, I think I can speak for a lot of engineers when they go through these technical interviews, that you start to doubt yourself in the midst of the technical interview. You're wondering if it's right. Well, here's the thing: you wouldn't have gotten that far in that process if it wasn't already demonstrated that you know, at least somewhat know what you're doing. Like, I didn't apply for Google; I was recruited. So I have to remind myself, like, I didn't apply for Google; like, I was recruited, which means that they already know, like, they had confidence enough to even offer me an interview. I was just going around about my life. I wasn't even thinking about Google. So if you get to these points and you're in the interview, you have to be confident in your ability, because you wouldn't be there if you weren't at the minimum capable. So it's really a sales point at that time. Like, I know that I'm capable of doing it. So for me, the biggest fear was just, managing that fear. That was my biggest hurdle. And I'm here because of it now. So the problems in and of themselves, I honestly don't think that they're terribly difficult. They just make you think, and they make you it's the time constraint, right? If you're given these same problems, if you were given, like, if Google gave you a take-home exam, that would have been infinitely easier than trying to get it in a 45-minute interview, which of those 45 minutes we spend 15 minutes talking. So we really only got like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes at most to actually write the algorithm. Then you have to explain the algorithm. So that really brings you down to like 15, 20 minutes of actually writing the algorithm. Then you got to explain it. That's when they ask you the runtime analysis and all that good stuff. And sometimes they didn't even ask me this time for runtime analysis. But I also went out the way to say the runtime analysis as I was explaining the problem. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions so far, or anything, or just any comments? So Alchemy, I see you. Okay, you left, but I appreciate it. But sorry, stuff. But yeah, so my next interview, the next technical round will be not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after next. And yeah, I'm gonna do another interview on that, even regardless of how it goes. I'm feeling really confident. Like, I'm feeling really confident. Like, I feel more confident about this than when I was interviewing for Apple. So, knock on wood, cross my fingers. But I think that your boy's gonna be a Googler. So, with that being said, if I get the job, like I said, it's if you want to, how they explain it, if you want to work in the office, you have to, like, not apply, but you have to request to be in the office, and they're only letting so many people in the office. You have to get a cubicle, rent a cubicle for the day. It's honestly, it's easier just to work from home. So all my people who I know at Google, other people I know who are at Google are working remote right now. So like I said, there's a good chance that I'll probably stay in Louisville. for a little bit, not too long. Because honestly, I'm trying to get out of Louisville. I'm trying to get out of Kentucky. So, but just enough to just long enough, to basically like find a place in Austin and get acclimated with the atmosphere and stuff. Then I'll make that final move. But we had Ebel, good luck. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Really attribute a lot of y'all's positive vibes and affirmations for me. Like I definitely felt that, and I appreciate all of y'all. Clip and go. I'm lost with the language. LMBO. Well, stick around, watch more of the videos. You'll catch up. It's the it's that code lingo. The first round is the first round the technical interview. Yes. So the first round is technical, and then um the last round is so you can do 2 rounds of technical, and then the final round is behavioral, and that's the all day. I'm gonna see if they'll make an exception, and if I can like come on site, because the idea of sitting on a Google Meet for like 4 to 6 hours is driving me crazy. I'm gonna see, if I gotta do my whatever COVID test and whatever I got to do to be out there, I'll do it, because I'm really not trying to do that for 6 hours. I need my page checkup before you bounce. I got you. Actually, I think I got a notification that your domain is up for renewal. Clip and go. So we need to renew your domain, and you should be good on that. But we'll definitely get together. Yeah, we'll get together this week. But yeah, the technical interview, it honestly wasn't that bad. Like it was worse in my head what I thought it was gonna be than what it actually was. Like it was so that's a combination of one, me needing to quit doubting myself, and two, just like not living fear based, because it really wasn't that bad. Honestly, it's stuff that how I prepare. So like I don't do preparation for my technical interviews traditionally. Like I've been coding since I was 8, right? And I honestly try to incorporate my algorithms, best practice algorithms, into my daily work. I feel like that is the best practice. Like you shouldn't understand and try to do hash maps and trees and graphs and stuff to get a job. Like you should want to and strive to implement these best practices in your daily code. And if you're doing this on the daily code, um, if you're doing this on the daily, then you don't really have to practice, right? So when I try to do like leak code and stuff, like I almost feel silly, because like it's like this is stuff I already know. Um, and when I got the interview, I was like, oh wow, this is literally stuff that I already know. I was doing stuff like with grid points. Like, I mean, that goes back to me doing like 2D game design. Like, I literally viewed it like, oh, okay, like transformation of sprites on a game board or something. That's how I looked at it when I was doing the code. Did you went for 2 tech rounds or just one? And like the question was about a raise. Sorry, I'm late for the lab. Yeah, so I had my first technical. I passed the first technical, so I'm going on to the second technical, which will be next. Let's get it, man. Man, win never stop. Okay. Yeah. So I passed the first technical. My second technical is not this Thursday or next Thursday. And yeah, the question was about basically given a set of grid points, and your origin point is at 1, 1. You need to get to M, N in the shortest amount of moves possible, but you're only allowed 2 types of moves. So that's essentially it. Um, and basically just made a iterative
algorithm that basically goes until you get to the point. And you could do it recursively, but if you do it recursively, it's a much the time complexity is way worse than if you do it iteratively. If you do it iteratively, it actually is it actually goes to a in log not in log in but big O of n. It's a it's linear time. It's about as best as you can get. But what, you can do filters on here on live? I didn't know that. Let me see this. What? That's cool. You do black and white. Oh man, that's dope. Eee. I like this. I think I'm gonna keep it like this. Y'all like this? They got bubbles and stuff. What is this? It's like you can only move right and down to reach your point. Right. So it was right and up in that case. In the case of the in the case of that. Yo, I did not know you could do these filters. What's haunt? Oh gosh, that's ugly. Silver screen. Sorry, I'm over here geeking out. All right, let's keep it on black and white. So yeah, so you're only allowed to basically move up and right. Was a dynamic program solution something like that? Um, I didn't have to do dynamic programming. I guess you could, but for the translations that you were giving, it didn't. You didn't really need to do a dynamic programming solution. And B, I am on a iPhone 12. This is actually my first iPhone. I was Team Android for a while. I'm still really Team Android. I like Android overall better, but I've been doing all this iOS app design for my startup, and it just made sense for me to go ahead and make the switch. So that's what I did. And I caught it during a promotion, so I didn't have to pay too much. But yep. Oh, let's see what time is it. It is it's 8:53. Cool. I'll probably stay on for. You got an iPhone SE 2020 jailbroken on 13.5. Yeah, when I used to have an iPod Touch back in the day. I remember I jailbroke that, and that was back when you could jailbreak your iPhone by going to that website. I don't even remember, was it jailbreakmyiphone.com? Like that was an old jailbreak, but yeah, I remember I jailbroke and I was on all those other app stores. You could do all sorts of cool stuff. I don't know why Apple locks their system down. So I will take it back. I know why. It's for money and that whole status and elitist play. But just the developer experience for Apple could be so much better if they just open up their shit and like I don't know, like your Android phones have all these sensors in it. Like if you have a phone that like has all the sensors in it, do you know what you can do with your Android phone? Like this shit's crazy. I couldn't use an iOS device if it's not jailbroken, too limited. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I use it from the. I got I still have an Android phone that I keep with me, but I just use it for development, and you can't do development on a jailbroken device, unfortunately. So it is what it is. But yeah, this has been it's been a crazy ride. It's been a crazy ride. Um, I don't know. My birthday's in January, so I'm really thinking, assuming that I get the job, that I'll probably move after my 30th. Apple is a very much controlled environment, very, very, very much controlled. But if you look at the play, like the power play they made over the last like 15 years, let's see, when did the iPhone came out when I was in seventh grade? Yeah, it's been like 15 years. You said that you started coding since 8 years old. How did you start? What type of things caught your interest at that time? All right, so funny story about how I got into code. Uh, but before I get into that, how will you celebrate? My 30th, I haven't figured that out yet. I want to do something. I really want to go out the country. I got my passport, but I don't know how things is looking. So I've been thinking a cross country road trip, driving from Louisville to LA and then driving back from LA to Louisville. So make it like a week long celebration. Is My birthday is 1 week after New Year's, so start a road trip on New Year's, and by the time I come back, it should be my birthday. So that's what I would do probably. But Adamir, you asked, how did I start getting into coding? So the story behind that is I was actually I was 8. My mom was going to school for engineering and project management and business side of things, and she had to take a intro to Java class. So I did something, got in trouble. I don't remember what exactly I did to get in trouble, but she had told me I need to clean off the bookshelf, and the bookshelf it had all her like college textbook stuff on it. So I threw a tantrum. I knock off all the books, and the book that fell on top was her Java book, and the cover was like animated, so it kind of looked like it would be like a comic book or something like that, and it piqued my interest. And I was an avid reader, so I had a 12th grade reading level when I was 8, and she already had the computer and stuff, and I'm reading it, and it's talking about you can make video games with this thing called Java, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to make some video games. So I literally just read the computer, and we already had Java and all the and NetBeans installed. If any of y'all remember NetBeans, um, and I just started coding, and I've read it cover to cover. Java was my first language, and then when I was 9, I found out about C++, and I did the same thing. I taught myself C++, and that's how I got into robotics and hardware, and then quickly realized that I'd rather stick with software. But yeah, just that's how I got into computer systems, and I got into networking, and it just all from being a little badass kid, and I just fell in love with it. And my company, I started my first company when I was in high school when I was 14, which is actually the company I was just talking about, Jake Career Solutions. I have my employees under. So I've ran that same company since I was a freshman in high school. And yeah, I've taken a very um, unorthodox route to get into tech. I went to college, but I dropped out. And the reason why I dropped out is because I already had my company, and I was literally losing money going to school. So I dropped out. Then I moved out to California. That's when I started working for Apple and Sephora, and some of that was through my company, some of it direct. And then I left the Bay, came back to Kentucky, and doing up to what I'm doing now. So, and now I'm teaching kids how to code in the city. Um, and I have a framework in place. So if I move to Texas, my engineers, my employees, they're gonna continue teaching the classes, and I'm just trying to make a difference. And unfortunately, in this capitalistic society we live in, a lot of the differences that I want to make requires money. So that's a big reason why I'm going back into the corporate uh corporate machine, because while Jake Peer Solutions, it's at the point where, like I said, I have employees. I pay payroll. Like, it's net positive. It's a profitable company. But the amount of philanthropy that I want to do, like, I don't have $80,000 liquid. You know, I don't have $50,000 in cash to throw for these events. Now I can if I work for Google. So if I'm willing to give up some of my time, which I'm willing to do for a few years, so I can come back here and continue what I'm doing, but this time with capital, because I don't want to do the VC route, because I want control over how these resources are allocated. Because my whole thing is, I'm trying to empower the Black community. I really want to. I want there to be more Jeromes. I want there to be more kids who are coding at 8. Um, Tech can single handedly help close the wealth gap in our community, and it's very important to me as a Black man. And I had the privilege of learning this skill when I was a child, and it's literally culminated to this moment right here. And I want other children who look like me to have that. I don't want my story to be a statistical anomaly. You know, I don't want that to be something that is like, oh, that's a great inspirational story, but I don't know if I can see that for myself. So these are the moves. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, let's be honest. If I was Asian and I said, hey, I'm working at Google, like it would be a running joke and be like, oh, well, that's would just be expected. Like it's not common to see a it's not common to see a black man at a FANG company as a senior engineer. And but it's literally a field that it's not like black children looking and wanting to be an NBA player, NFL player, right? 'Cause statistically that's not readily attainable, right? You got genetic factors, you got geolocation factors, but anybody can learn how to code. Anybody can learn how to become a network or infosec engineer. That is something that's readily attainable, and also something that I'm pretty sure it's like the only field that I think you can consistently make six figures from working from home, and that is the norm. Like where I'm teaching one of my classes here in the city, we're next to the poorest zip code in the nation. It's the poorest neighborhood in the nation. $8,000 a year for a household, my dude. $8,000 a year for a household. Think about that. Now, I want to. These kids who are living. Some of these kids are literally living in abandoned houses. Like those are the kids that I'm trying to teach. Yeah, come learn how to make an app. You know, whether you work for a company like Google or I'm helping you get the skills so you can start your own company. Like imagine if 10% of the people in that neighborhood went from making $8,000 a year as a household to making, let's not even go to six figures, let's say $60,000, $70,000. There's no welfare assistance that can do that for these people. That's something that we have to build amongst ourselves. So yeah, the money is good with Google, and like personally, that's a good achievement for myself. But like, for me personally, like I'm more invested in how that's going to do for my people. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. If you're able to make 10% of them succeed, if you're able to make 10% of them to succeed, some of them will be inspired by you and maybe continue to do the same as you're doing. Then you have like a waterfall effect. Exactly. And that's exactly what I want, because I mean Jerome Parker can't do it all. I'm not trying to do it all. But what I am trying to do is set a framework. I am trying to start a snowball effect, waterfall effect, like you said. Um, because I'm hoping that, hey, if I touch 100 kids and teach 100 kids, let me at least one of them will go and hopefully teach 100 more. Thank you, Clip and Go. Thank you. And as far as the coding classes, we're gonna start the next round. I believe in a couple weeks. When we get the solidified dates, I'll send them to you directly, so you can attend, or bring your granddaughters and let them attend. But oh wow, been on here for about 40 minutes. But yeah, so let's assume that I get this. That'll be two FANG companies I work for. I'm pretty sure that at that point, I think I'm done. Like, um, if when I leave Google, I don't think I'll be going back to work for another company. I will have more than enough capital to just focus on jQuery Solutions. I can focus on my other app startups. but I want to go out with a bang. So I figure Google it would be a great place to, I guess, retire out from. Um, but yeah, and so I had on Twitter, I talked about me going to the next round, and there was a couple people who were saying some negative things. Mostly talking about, oh, you don't have any friends who work at Google because you wouldn't be excited, and that whole Google is a evil corporation, et cetera, et cetera. Well, look, newsflash: most of these companies have issues. Like when I worked at Apple, I had more or less a pretty bad time. It really popped my bubble and shattered my perception of these top tech companies. So I'm going in there knowing that it's like what the environment is going to be. Okay, like I'm no longer that 21-year old, big, big eyes, innocent view of the world person. Like I get what it is, and I'm a firm believer that if you go into a situation knowing what something is, like can't really complain. Like I understand. I'm going in there with the mindset of I'm working, I'm going home. I'm working, I'm going home. You know, I know it's at stake, and I know what I'm capable of giving and what I'm willing to give. And yeah, are there gonna be? Will there probably be days it's gonna be super stressful? Yeah, it's fucking Google. Like it. Wow. Of course, there's gonna be times where it's gonna be hard. Of course, there are going to be times where I'm not going to agree with what my company does. Nobody agrees with 100% of what their employer does. Nobody. But I'm going to answer this last question, and then I'm actually going to get off because I got some business stuff I got to take care of. Any tips for someone who didn't start coding at A to the seed on these tech interviews besides lead coding and stuff? Yeah. So I'm gonna reiterate what I said earlier. The best way of practicing is actually implementing these algorithms into your daily code. Whether it's a startup project, whether it's a company that you're currently working for, like you shouldn't have this mindset of, oh, I'm gonna study for this interview and I'm gonna go over all these algorithms. Like you need to be putting these algorithms in your daily code because if it's second nature to you, you don't have to prepare because it's second nature. If that makes sense. Um, that's really the only way that I know. I can't really give any other advice outside of that. That's what works for me. Um, and I honestly, I feel more confident in myself. I don't prepare for these interviews, like because there's no point in me trying to learn something in 2 days. Like I either know it or I don't. And the thing about algorithms is like there's literally thousands of algorithms and data structures. You're not going to know it all. It's about how can you if you're given a prompt and it's explaining like, hey, this data structure, write an algorithm using this data structure. Can you look at a brand new data structure and decipher what you need to do? Because that's what it's like learning how to learn, right? Because you're not going to know it all. Don't try to know it all. You'll drive yourself crazy. So, on that note, everyone, I am out for the night. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Um, if you're not following the podcast, then you should follow the podcast. Code Life. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts rather. All that good stuff. I agree. The bad thing is that not that often we're able to apply these algorithms. Sometimes you solve several simple problems, and once in a while you have to more complex thing to solve. That is true, but as also I would also say that is contingent on the type of coding you're doing, right? Like a lot of front end JavaScript work isn't going to require you to do a lot of that stuff because it's usually already being done by the third party API you're doing or whatever. But like if you're doing uh, system work, like OS work, you're almost always going to be doing algorithms like that. So I would say yes, but it depends. But everyone, I got to get off here. I love you all. I appreciate all of the love and support that you have given me so far. I really appreciate you all. And I will talk to you um, at a minimum. I'll talk to you all next Thursday. I'll let you know how the interview went. So, peace and talk to y'all later.